Hello, everybody, and welcome to this week's episode of Mouse Minds. We are streaming for you live on YouTube and, of course, on Facebook and um, on Twitch as well. Mouse Minds on Twitch, and of course, our Facebook page um, for the Mouse Minds, Mouse Facebook page. But we are here this week with an interesting topic. We were inspired this week by the recent um excitement at Walt Disney World over the new cake bake shop at the boardwalk over the substantially higher prices for a slice of cake. And we decided to do a worth the splurge.
Oh no.
Well, mid sentence too. Poor
Yeah.
guy. All right, Robert, come on back. There you are. Mid sentence.
Oh no. I can't hear you.
He's having a hard time.
I mean, ultimately, we're looking at whether or not you can go travel Walt Disney World on a budget. You can go to Disneyland and just spend within your means. I'm just here to have the experience, have the excitement, let the kids do some stuff. Or you can forget that the credit card has a max out limit, and you can forget that your paycheck only gets you to here and say, you know what, this might be my once in a lifetime. Maybe I do this annually. It doesn't matter. When I'm on vacation, it's not about the money.
Yes.
So looking at experiences or
Yes.
things you can do that may or may not be worth the splurge.
And I mean, there's other things that were recently announced that kind of play into this too, like the advent of the what is it called now? The uh Lightning Lane Premier Pass. I couldn't think of the name. So yes, the Lightning Lane Premier, the Lightning Lane Premier, which is another add-on in Disney in general has become, at least on the East Coast. I don't know as much on the West Coast, but on the East Coast, it's become the land of add-ons. Everything is an add-on. Just getting into the parks isn't enough anymore.
Right.
You know, even just having a day's ticket, only it almost feels like you're only admitted to so many rides by having a day's ticket because you have to get the Lightning Lane Premier to be able to have, to be able to be guaranteed to ride all the rides you want. So, and even then, it's not a complete guarantee because I don't think you get like Guardians of the Galaxy over on the East Coast with the Lightning Lane Premier. So, it's one of those things that Disney has a lot of options that are pay to play, and that it caters to everyone and what they want to do while they're at the parks. But there are a lot of options, and we are going to discuss whether they are worth the splurge or not. Now, we'll start off with the big one that everyone's been talking about this week, and then we'll go into other stuff. But of course, or has been talking about, which is the cake bake shop. I actually went there myself recently, and I ordered things from the bakery. It is very pretty inside the restaurant. If you have not seen it online, it's very pretty. It almost looks like something that should be at the Grand Floridian and not at the boardwalk, just by the theming of the inside and everything else. But it is a fantastic bakery, and everything is very expensive, but there's gold dust on everything, so I guess that makes it worth it. Um, literally, like when you walk into the bake shop and you look at the pastries, everything has sprinkled gold glitter on, like some sort of food glitter on the actual pastries themselves. Like it doesn't matter what you get, from the banana bread um to the um to the cookies to the cakes. It all has this gold dust in it that makes it look a lot prettier. Now the actual desserts themselves, of course, the cake is the big one. They have the Gwendolyn's cake, which is $25, which everyone is going on and on about. That is a big deal, and I tried it myself, and I can honestly tell you that it is one of the best slices of cake that I've ever had. And it all comes down to the chocolate that they use. And I think this is a theme um, that they use at the cake bake shop. Now, I forget the name of it, but I will find it in just a second here. But it is the cake was of course very moist. It is very, just a very decadent cake. But the chocolate that they use, it's a Callebaut Belgian chocolate ganache. And it is very, very good. They use that on the cakes, and then they use the same chocolate for the chocolate chip cookies. It is so good. And honestly, $25 for a cake slice. I know Michael's opinion, but, um, I don't I mean, it was very good. It was literally the best cake slice I've ever had, but I cannot regularly see spending $25 for a slice of cake. It was one to try it, and that was it, but it's not definitely not a regular thing. Now, however, the cookies, which are, I think, 6.99, $7, those actually are on the rotation. Those are actually very good. They have the same chocolate. They are not $25, and they are fairly big, and they are so good. And, I've had that, like, 3 or 4 times since I've been there, and I will go back for that. I haven't tried, like, the banana bread or anything like that. I've also heard that those things are amazing as well, and obviously, I haven't tried the restaurant either. I'm a little skeptical to eat at the restaurant because, they're charging almost $30 for a grilled cheese, which is, in my opinion, is a bit much, and I've seen the photos of said grilled cheese, and it doesn't look like anything that, that I have to go out of my way to try it. Eventually, I'm sure I will do it just for the to say I ate there. Michael's seen all the posts, at least on this coast, or in the Passover group over here. The first few days, everyone was posting that they were going there just to try it, and I think you can agree that none of the food looks worth the price that they're charging.
Yeah, and I think a lot of the people doing it are doing it exclusively because they saw it on TikTok,
Yeah,
and now I need to do it too. There's a lot of things that if they didn't see it on TikTok, they wouldn't do. They don't know about it. They're not going there. I don't think most people venture outside the parks to even walk around the boardwalk, much less
yeah.
know that this cake bake shop exists.
I think it's also a.
So because everyone else is doing, I got to jump on this silly cake wagon
I think
and go
I think there's
splurge.
also a curiosity too. Anytime you pitch someone the world's most expensive cake, people just try it just for the thrill of, I gotta see what a $25 cake tastes like. I mean, that's the whole reason I did it. I got Why are they charging $25 for this? So, I mean, I completely understand why people are doing it. I've heard a lot of people say, um, that they, are that it's probably not gonna last because there's no people just don't wanna go back. They have no interest in going back. They've gone once and that's it for them, and they're good to go. And I kind of agree with that. Other than the few times I've been to the bakery, I can't see myself going to the restaurant. So, but to be fair, the cake bake shop, there is another location. The prices that they're charging at Disney are actually not that much more than what they're charging at the other shop. It's maybe
Right.
like a dollar or two more. So this is
That's
like a chain.
local. That's local for me,
Hmm.
right? So we have two. We have like one in Broad Ripple and one in Carmel. And so I will say that I've only been, I think, twice ever. And they've been for special things like bridal showers, Mother's Day, like just, something special above and beyond. And so you're right. Like I did some research too because I wondered if the prices at Disney were a little bit higher, and they are, but they aren't I mean, they're like $5 to $7 on some things, different in some price.
Mhm.
And I have friends that are going to the tea in December, and then you have to register for that as an event. And they're going to the tea in December at Disney, not here. They're actually from Texas, but they shared with me how much that process costs. And I don't know if you are aware, but if you do a tea, you have to register as of an event, you sign a contract, and you also pay up front. And I believe it was like $260. And then you also get to pay 24% tax up front as well. So it's
Is
quite,
that per person?
yeah, it's for two people,
Okay.
$240. But then you also have to add in, the tax and the mandatory 24% gratuity. So I just wanted to mention that in case any of the listeners thought it is a special room. So I don't know if you saw that. There's like a special room at the back
I
there at,
didn't see that.
yeah. So, and I guess it's very elegant. I mean, they bring out the tower just like they do here in Carmel.
Nice.
Um, like they do at the tea here in Carmel, like the tower of the different pastries and things to try. And then they have a variety of French teas as well. So I was hoping that it would be like just something so above and beyond. Um, but like I said, I thought that was a pretty hefty price for a tea. Um,
Well, I
but
mean, the I want to say the tea at the Grand Floridian is not that far off for two people.
right, it isn't, but that's really the only option for tea right now. I
Yeah.
believe Grand's still closed. So,
Yes.
anyways, I just thought I would throw in my two.
But see, that's the only option for tea at Walt Disney World.
Yeah.
Would you necessarily go to tea back home for probably a quarter of the price? And you can have a really nice experience. Don't know if I need to have tea on vacation. That's me. It depends what your tradition is. Hey, every time we go, we have tea.
I don't honestly.
Now,
I
let's say if
the only place that I would do tea, me personally, would be at Disney just for the experience of doing it. Like I want to do it at the Grand. Like I ever since the pandemic, since they shut it down, I've been a little upset because I really want to do. I've always wanted to do tea at the Grand with my daughter. So in that respect, yes, it is something that I would do. Then, and I've done it at other places outside of Disney, and it's just not the same experience. There's just the tea houses, at least in Orlando, are not nearly as nice as say doing it at the Grand. Um, but
sure,
again, it hasn't been open since the pandemic. They shut it down for the pandemic, and it's just one of those things that hasn't opened back up. And honestly, a lot of people aren't sure if it's going to open back up.
Yeah,
When your friend signed up for the tea,
Mhm.
was it sold out? Like, are they having a hard time getting those dates?
She actually was. It was a little bit difficult to get the days and time. She was waitlisted, and let's see. I just talked to her Sunday, so I believe on Saturday her wait list came up for like December, the beginning of December. Um,
Well,
so
I
she
think
was
that,
waitlisted.
yeah,
So I
tea,
mean, it's a very desired event.
yes, it's desired.
Very
I
much.
mean, for that price, if it's for two people, initially when you said that, and I thought that was one, holy moly. But for two people, for the experience, I not that I think that's a good deal, but to have tea, it's fun. I mean, the Grand Californian here in the West Coast, they have theme teas, and right now they're scheduling for the holiday tea with
Hmm.
Santa and Mrs. Claus coming, and that comes out to about like 125 per person.
Okay.
So you put that together, it's close, and then the tax and the tips. So I think if you're going there to Disney Park, that's probably the running price. And I'm telling you, it's going to sell out.
I mean,
So
the tea at the Grand was, I think, like it started at like 40 or $50 per person, and then it went up from there. And I think the most expensive one was like
And for
80
125
dollars
a
or something.
person out there, I'm thinking you could do the dessert party to watch fireworks for $125. It's not going to be as intimate. It's not going to be as, I don't want to say regal, but to me it would be a lot less
Yeah.
special than setting up a $125 Christmas breakfast where you're going to have Santa and hopefully it's in a nicer environment than some open air patio with plastic furniture. So at that point, it might be worth the splurge, at least to do it
Yeah,
once.
I,
sure.
So that might not be bad
I
actually.
agree with that actually because the any anything dessert party is not worth it to me. I mean, I've been to numerous dessert parties at Disney, and none of them are worth the price, especially now. Many years ago, I'm talking about like 10, 15 years ago when they first started dessert parties, and they would run you like $40. Then that was totally worth it. Like I would do that all the time because you could,
I did too.
they have a good mix of salty and sweet, and you can actually have a meal and and then have dessert as well and get good viewing for the fireworks. That's worth it. But the prices they're charging now, I'd have to look it up. I mean, I know it's almost close to $200 per person for these dessert parties, which is to me is insane. I mean, I don't even know if they really do the one at Epcot anymore as much as they used to because they used to have one for the fireworks there as well, and they don't do it as much. The only one I ever see that they really do religiously is the someone posted a comment there. It's pretty funny. Um, it says, "I guess for now I'll be wearing my tiara and watching Cinderella at home." Yeah, I mean because if you get at Cinderella's royal table, that's another experience that's
Oh, it is.
close to the same price. So yeah.
Mhm. It is. And Disney's all about the experience, and I'm excited to hear from my friend how she likes it. My girls are getting older, but at least I think my 14-year-old would still enjoy like dressing up and the specialty of it. So, but yeah, I love that comment though about wearing the tiara and watching Cinderella at home. That's
That is pretty good.
hmm
So Luella, what type of I shouldn't say high dollar, but what type of luxury experiences do they have out in California that maybe
Yeah.
are worth it to you or maybe not worth it to you?
I think it just kind of depends, right? And that's what's great about it. It's what you these high luxury experiences are not mandatory.
Mhm.
It's an option, and you have to weigh what is the benefit for you, if it's worth that dollar amount, if it's worth that sacrifice. And for some people it is. So I'm certainly not going to judge someone who's going to feel that the lightning lane premiere was necessary. I mean, it's not necessary for me, but there's certainly nothing wrong if it's there. The option's there.
Mhm.
So if that's where they want to spend their money, it's kind of like, do you want to do sit down dining, or do you want to, you know, do you want to bring in your sandwiches, which we used to
Of
do when
course.
I was young.
right.
Because you can you the opportunity to experience it. Everyone has a different financial ability, um, but that doesn't mean that you can't experience it. It just means that you'll have to maybe not do the sit down dining. But um, some people love to do the sit down dining. I think that's a kind of a luxury because it's not cheap, but every once in a while, I'd love to do that. I'd love to go eat at Napa Rose or Blue Bayou, and understand that it's going to take time away from the park, and it's going to cost a little bit more. But that's certainly not something all the time. um, Disneyland's a little bit different because that's on my backyard. But when I go to Walt Disney World, we make really cognizant choices. Okay, I want to eat at this restaurant, so
Yeah.
we gotta like plan it,
Yeah.
and that's worth it for me, you know, because
I,
I'm only going to be there maybe once every 2 or 3 years, and
I
so
completely agree.
yeah.
And the thing is too, and I do the same thing when I go to Disneyland. I plan out Goofy's Kitchen and Carnation Cafe and Blue Bayou and things like that. Like I go to all the places you wouldn't normally go to if you're someone who goes all the time. And I want to preface this too. I didn't mention certainly. Llewellyn brought up a good point. We are not doing this show to bash people who spend on these luxury items. That is not the point of the show. So we're just talking about for us, is it worth it to do these events? Because honestly, whatever you want to do at Disney, I think almost everything is worth it. Um, this is more so to highlight some of these higher end things and really um showcase if they're worth it or not.
Yeah. So, but like the parties, those are high additional ticketed items, and that's for me. It's just not necessarily like worth it for me. For one thing, I have a hard time staying up late. and and those parties are usually always after hours, and I'd love to get the full cost worth of it. And so I would, if I would do it, I would stay till closing, and I just physically cannot do that.
Yes, and I think we're all getting older, and all of a sudden 1 o'clock's not as fun anymore. But I wanted to ask you if and going back to that cake bake kind of thing, if it doesn't fold out here like we're all hoping it does, and it does
I'm not
take off,
hoping
and they
for
say,
that.
hey, you know what, we found a spot in downtown Disney out in California where we can put this up, not in the parks, but just something outside the parks. Is it something you would try at least once? Would you go for the $25 cake? Is it something that, if you liked it, would you go back a second or third time?
I think for me, because it's just a little bit, our downtown Disney is different. When in Walt Disney World and that whole area, when you're there, it like encompasses, like it's not easy to go across the street. Downtown Disney, I can walk across harbor and there's good stuff there.
Yeah.
So we're not
Yeah.
so, I feel like
It's true.
sometimes you're there and you're not going to like drive out really far. So, but Anaheim is not that far from really high end South Orange County. So I don't think that's the market that's going to be there. That's going to be downtown Disney. It's just, I don't think it would be successful at $25
Yeah.
cake. But you just go down the street and go to South Coast Plaza, which is a very high end mall. I think that would do very well. So I don't think it'll come here. And then also, we're super excited here because and it was 2 D23s ago. The Portos is coming back, and Portos is a local bakery. And when
Yes.
they announced that at the last D23 Expo, people from the East Coast didn't know what that is, and everyone from the West Coast were going nuts, so crazy that it was going to be built there. And they just built their Din Tai Fung, which is very popular here in Southern California. And now the Portos is coming, and that is a very reasonably priced bakery, Portos. And you just can't, I don't think that cake bake would be successful in downtown Disney, because everyone's going to jump to Portos, and we can buy desserts for $1 that are phenomenal.
See, and you raise excellent points, because here everyone talks about the bubble,
Yeah,
and
the
I'm
bubble.
afraid to go outside of it. So they don't want to leave. I mean, they don't want to rent a car because I drive every day to work. That's wonderful. You drove yesterday. Don't tell me you don't want to drive. You're driving every day. But they're afraid to leave, so they're probably not going to go, and I wouldn't. So it's going to go to downtown Orlando.
Exactly.
To go to a dessert because it's too far away. If it was at the outlets, I wouldn't buy $25 cake.
You're completely right, Michael, because outside of Disneyland, being right there on Cattell and everything just right there, like, you can walk to it. It's a lot easier. In Orlando, yes, you can step outside of the bubble, but when you step outside of the bubble in Orlando, really what you find close to the theme parks is a bunch of chain restaurants. And it's really not something that, people that are on vacation, they want to splurge. They're not going to go to a chain restaurant. They have that at home. And if you want to go to local restaurants to really catch Orlando flavor, you do have to kind of drive to downtown Orlando or Winter Park and take a 30-40 minute drive from the parks to go get food. So you are completely right there. It is a completely different
it's
situation.
just different. Many people that come here and they're staying near Disneyland. It's such a small bubble that they're going to take an
Mhm.
Uber to go to In-N-Out, which is like 10
Mhm.
minutes. That's how convenient it is. So
Right.
That's
Well,
what
and
I
I was
did.
gonna say my friends from the UK, when they come over, they talk about places. It makes me laugh a little bit because they get excited about going to IHOP or
and that's across the
or
street from
out.
in Disneyland.
Right.
Across the street, 10-minute walk.
Even though it may not
Although,
be exciting for those Americans, like I said, I have friends that like post about it all the time. Not just IHOP, but other restaurants that are right outside of Walt Disney World. So, anyways, that's the only.
sometimes it's about the familiar and the comfort. When I go to Jamaica, if I don't fly into Kingston, we fly into Mo Bay. When you come out of the airport and you start driving out, the very first place that you see is a Burger King. When I went
Yeah.
to Spain, Burger King,
Yeah.
because it's something you know. I didn't
Yeah.
leave New York City to come down here to eat at the Olive Garden or the Macaroni Grill. But people will do it if they, I have nowhere else to go, because a lot of people don't necessarily stay within Disney.
Yeah.
The same way they did in Disneyland. Once they put up the hotels, almost then everybody converges. And like I said, it's just chain, chain, chain. And you can walk between the chain
Yeah.
restaurants. And oh, you know what? I could go to this place that I don't know, but well, there's a Burger King right there. Let's go eat at the Burger King instead.
Familiar stuff. You don't want to.
Yep.
Sometimes you're afraid to try something. I can understand that anxiety a little bit. You're driving up and down the street. You don't know what this restaurant is, and I get that. It's a lot easier when it comes to Disney restaurants because there are so many sites and so many people and so many um vlogs and YouTubers and everything else reporting on Disney stuff. It's like a barrage of Disney content. So it's a lot easier to select something because you can find a video on it, but the random restaurant outside of, Walt Disney World on 192, you can't there's not really that much information on other than like maybe Yelp or something like that. And, you know, I mean, you got to do a little research.
I mean, I used to see it all the time in Manhattan when I was working in Manhattan. I would go up to Times Square for lunch, and Applebee's is packed. You didn't travel from Ohio to go to
Yeah.
New York City to eat at Applebee's, but again, it's the
Yeah.
familiar and it's
Yeah. It's
safe.
safe.
So, all right. So we know that the meals can be a challenge. The dessert parties can be a challenge. What are some of the other expensive experiences that we could choose to participate in, or try it at
I
least
mean,
once to say you
I
did
will
it?
always say that the tours in the parks are always top notch. The Keys to the Kingdom, what is it? Walk in Walt's footsteps. Those type of tours are always amazing. They've certainly scaled back a lot of the tours from what they used to have. They used to have a ton. There was ones for like the steam trains at Walt Disney World. There was the behind the scenes magic tour that took you to behind the scenes at all that Hollywood, Epcot, and Magic Kingdom. That was a huge one. There was behind the scenes at Epcot, which I did once. There are a lot of amazing tours, and there are even some tours at Walt Disney World that are actually a really good price. For example, the behind the scenes tour at Epcot is an excellent choice. If one of the best tours at Walt Disney World, not a very high entry point. Um, I'm not sure what the price is now for that one. Um,
Yeah, it used to be like 20
yeah,
bucks.
yeah.
2020. It was brilliant.
And you get to um, walk through the gardens. They feed you stuff from the gardens. Like you get a full on like hour and a half, um, 2-hour tour of the gardens. Right now we're looking at right now between $39 and $45 per person, which is still an amazing value to have something like this at Epcot for 2 to 3 hours, just enjoying the gardens and really spending that time in there. So there's that. There's also Keys of the Kingdom, which takes you inside the utilidors at Magic Kingdom, so you can see the underground there. it's amazing. It's just absolutely amazing.
If I'm going to California and I'm going through the website and I see there's a tour that eventually, and I don't know if it's still offered, but will eventually get you up to Walt's apartment, I am closing my eyes and I'm clicking book it. And when it hits the credit card, I'll worry about the price then. But that's not something we can do here. And that's not something that everyone gets to do. And it's not something that you can just, let me go stop up atop the firehouse just for the heck of it. So when it's something that special, when it's something that, I don't want to say exclusive, but it's something you can only do that way, I'll book it, once on my trip to say, you know what, I've been there, I've done it.
Yeah.
To me, that would be worth the experience.
They have that one. And, they alternate tours at Disneyland as well. And I think if you've gone to the parks, it's a nice way to experience it a little bit different. And Disneyland's always considered Walt's park because he actually walked on it. So there's a lot of history there. So if you enjoy history, that's a good tour. You're talking about Walt's Main Street Story Tour, where you do go into his apartment. They also have, and it's not, that one's running now, but every time it alternates, there's the railroad tour. And that's the way that you can get on the Lily Bell, which was also his train. That's a nice, unique thing to do. So I think tours are really nice and worth the money. Now, with my children, that would be boring for them. So that would not be worth it for them. But I think that's the great thing about all these things at Disney. All of these things shouldn't be interesting to all of you. This is how you divvy up the crowds.
Yeah.
So
now, is Walt's head in Disneyland currently or Disney World? Because that's the other tour I want to go see. So
underneath Space Mountain.
Oh my goodness.
You didn't hear that from me.
But you're right. Like I had done the Keys to the Kingdom tour. I think I've done it twice, but I had spaced it out enough times, and then I did the all day one where they take you to all four
That's
parks
the one
and they
that
put you on a bus and they take you.
I never got to do, and now they don't do it anymore.
Yeah, that one was cool.
That
They
one was
take you
awesome.
below the American Adventure, and you get to see how they shift the scenes up. But you go into the utilidors the first time, and it's pretty cool, and then you go down the second time, and it's a little less cool. By the third time, like, been down here already. Okay, enough. So I think I'm pretty good on the Keys to the Kingdom tour. But I got to look into the other ones that are available.
Yeah, I don't think they've added any tours to at least the Walt Disney World. I know they really scaled back during the pandemic, but I don't think they've have scaled any done any new. There's no new tours, but Keys of the Kingdom is, and then Behind the Seeds, the Wild Africa Trek. That's another one that's really good. Where they take you through like the safari area and take you across the bridges. There's like a rope bridge, things like that. So yeah, they're another one is the Amphicars. That's another Splurge experience. That is one that honestly, like, you would think, like, for the price for that, like, it would be something that, most people would say, I don't know about them. That one's pretty cool, actually. Those cars are really neat when you're driving down the hill and you just go straight in the water and your boat engine kicks on and you're just cruising in the lake. I mean, honestly, that's kind of cool. And if you get 4 people together, it kind of break up the cost there. Um, that'd be a lot of fun. Now, here's one that this is applies to both coasts here. I want to get everyone's opinion on whether or not you would actually do this one. Let's talk about plaids, VIP plaid tours. And when I say plaid, I mean your people that work at guest relations. They always wear the plaid vests. They have the tours where they can take you around the park, and basically, you kind of have free reign to kind of go on whatever ride you want, whenever you want, as many times as you want, because, I mean, you're paying pretty high prices for that. I'd have to, I'll get us a figure in a minute. But what about you guys? Would you guys ever consider doing a VIP tour?
I wouldn't consider doing it at Disneyland or Walt Disney World, but I'm going to admit I did do it when I went to Hong Kong Disneyland. And it
Well,
was
that's
worth
cool.
it. It was worth it for me. For one thing, it was worth it for me because I wanted tour guide that could speak English, so I could learn about the
Okay.
park. So I could learn about the park. And it was also when we went a certain holiday in Hong Kong. So it was crowded, like so crowded. And I only had one day there. I was with my family. So I said, you know what? I'm going to book the tour. We went there and I said, screw it. We went to guest relations and I booked a plaid. And, granted, it's a lot of money, but with our conversion rate, it wasn't too bad. And it was worth every single penny for me because I had,
And to me, that
yeah,
would be
right,
that would be worth it because you're never going to be
yeah,
back, or you're not saying never, but the chances of you going back anytime soon.
yeah,
So
Yeah.
you want to maximize that time. You don't know your way around the park yet. It's not something you can just close your eyes and walk
yeah.
through. I don't know the hidden gems. I don't know what's worth seeing. Here's a boatload of money. You little VIP treatment here.
Yeah.
Worth
So
it.
I'm thinking maybe, for some of the people that utilize it here, I mean, they're not going often. Of course, it's disposable income. They have disposable income. It's a lot of money, but that's what they're doing. They're trying to maximize the time that they have there.
I guess outside of the tip, I don't know if it's like a pay one price and grab 10 of your friends kind of thing, or the same price whether you bring one person or 8 people. So if you do group up and get as many people as you can, if it makes it more worth it, you probably have to tip per person. But I don't know what the pricing was. Robert found it.
Yeah, the pricing for the VIP tour, I've got it right here. You are looking at anywhere from $450 to $900 per hour, with a
Per hour.
requires in each tour requires a minimum commitment of 7 continuous hours, with the option to extend up to
Oh,
10 hours.
wow.
Now,
There,
keep in mind,
Say 400 an hour, not bad until I hear you have to do 7 hours.
Yeah. Yeah.
right.
But I mean, what are you going to cover in an
well,
hour? Unless you really want to
well,
bypass that line for the Haunted Mansion and
well,
go
keep in
home.
mind too. I would imagine, and now I have not done this. I don't know, but I would imagine if you have a VIP tour guide, that also means because I know like I I swear I've seen the VIP tour guides use like the minivans or things like that to escort people between the parks. So this would not, I don't think, would necessarily be a one park situation too. You have that 7 hours. You could go to another park, utilize the tour guide there, maybe fit in a bunch of parks in one day. I don't know. I mean, if you get a group together, that could definitely maybe be worth it for you if you have a group together. I honestly, I don't know how many people
So
you
say
can
how
have
many
on a tour.
guests?
yes, you can have 10.
10.
And yes, you can have 10. And this is something
So
that people will, 2 or 3 families or more will divide out that cost, and so there's actually entire groups for this. Um, so I know several people that have done that, went with complete strangers, but did the VIP tour. And as long as, they very well, they went to all 4 parks.
wow.
They got to ride all of the rides that they, wanted to really
See,
ride. So,
I
Can I
mean,
ask
so
this?
yeah.
They just here, the VIP tour, they just released exclusive merchandise. So the whole thing about the groups, I mean, in a lot of my Facebook groups, they're trying to find groups of people, like 10,
To
to
get the
split it
merchandise.
so that they can get this VIP merchandise, ears, lounge fly bag,
Oh,
spirit jerseys,
oh wow.
all
No.
plaid. It's all plaid. And you can't get it unless it's VIP. Are they offering that there?
Why
I mean,
don't
it's
they do that here?
price here. Like,
Okay. So I understand why they don't do that here, first off.
okay.
And I can understand why. Because because over there you have to have something that would attract the locals. That is exactly something that would attract that would get me. I want to do it now because a plaid spirit jersey sounds amazing. Like
Yeah.
that 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 sounds like, as a Disney fan, I want that. So that would get me to definitely do that. So I believe here, from what I've seen, all you get is a pin. they do have pins that say VIP tour guide, and I've seen people get those like handed out to them when they leave, but never any merchandise. Now, is the merchandise included in the
No,
cost? You have to
no,
pay extra for the
you have to pay extra. You have to pay extra, and but you can't purchase it unless you do the exclusive VIP tour. Now, the merchandise, I mean, it's what you would expect, like the cost of a lounge flight. It's not exorbitant amount a lot, but people like to have those exclusives.
I mean, if you're
See, out here, I think that would wind up right on eBay.
yeah,
From the stories
Yeah.
I see.
yeah,
And, I mean, I guess if you paid for it, you do what you want. Maybe you get some of your money back for the tour. But that's when it loses that exclusive edge. I mean, if I can get this bag for myself, that's fantastic. Don't make me buy two and then try to go flip it right away so I can get some of my
Michael,
$2,700
can
back.
you imagine a tour group of just resellers?
That's an expensive.
Probably every single week. Every darn week they'd be out there. Hey, are you back for the tour? Yeah, I really, really loved it. I got so
Oh
much
my
for that
God.
last spirit.
Yeah, I'm looking right now at the cost of it. I mean, it's reasonable. Like the ears are 50, and they're really nice ears.
That sounds. What is a spirit jersey, like 70 or something, maybe?
The spirit jersey is probably about that much. I didn't.
Yeah.
I can't see it right here, but the price.
I
But
gotta look this thing up now. Now you've got me.
Spirit jerseys kill me.
I love
Disney
spirit
found a way to
jerseys.
take a
well, it's
Oh.
so cute because it actually says
and sell it for a high
VIP
price.
here, and then it says Disneyland in the back, and it's in plaid.
Mhm.
Oh, I see it.
Just go to
Oh
the
my gosh, this is amazing. Holy, oh my gosh. Oh, I'm gonna get it on the screen. Hold on. This needs to be shared. This is fantastic.
let's see this.
This is fantastic. Okay, hold on.
But
let
I
me
think
see.
there are people that
Let's see the
would really love that when you have to do the tour, and that tour is not cheap.
Oh my God.
Right? It's not cheap. So
I'm
let's see the sold prices on eBay while we're at it.
getting
because
this right here. Hold on one
they
second.
do have limit on the amount that you can purchase.
Oh, they try that here
Yeah,
too. Limit.
yeah.
And I think some of the stuff. My cousin just
They
went to
do
the
try that
Christmas
here.
party. She said a lot of things are now one per person, not even two anymore, to stop the
Yeah,
resellers.
I mean they should. That's although you still
Oh my
see the
gosh. I'm not gonna lie. I like this.
it's
Oh.
nice. It's nice looking.
Here we go. I'm putting it up on the screen. I
Yeah.
like this. I like the spirit jersey. I'm not gonna lie.
Yep.
That's like the
Mm-hmm.
that is like the biggest like flex ever. Like if you wear that, you're just like showing off. Like, look at me. I have the exclusive plaid thing. I spent $5,000 in a group to buy this spirit jersey. Like that is incredible. That is almost as good as Club 33 merch. But yes, but that is pretty cool. That is pretty cool.
Yeah. It's lounge fly. Ladies love their lounge fly.
Wow.
So
See that having the opportunity or having that available to you makes the tour a little more inviting or a little more incentivizing to say, I'll take the tour if I can leave with, because I couldn't see them letting you pay for the tour and then saying, okay, grab anything off the shelf that you like. So
I think people have that misconception about the tour too. I think they think that although the tour does, include like basically, carte blanche to all the rides, I don't believe it includes any food or anything like that. So
nor should it. If I'm going to be paying $24 or whatever, $100 to take this tour, you better believe I'm having the biggest breakfast imaginable that morning, because I am not wasting a minute
That's
of that
true.
tour guide's time so I can stop and have
That's
a hot
true.
dog. Not happening. I'm not even sure I'll use the restroom.
That's true. It's a
But I mean, yeah, if you maximize
so
your
it
time.
says here that the tour may provide complimentary snacks and beverages such as water bottles and popcorn. But
all right, so
but
that's a food on the go, so that makes sense.
I mean, if you're spending, because I did the math over here, if you're spending on the high end for 7 hours, $6,300, and you're gonna take an hour out of that time to go have lunch at a sit down restaurant, that is a very expensive lunch, in my opinion.
Exactly my point. I don't care if you're just having a poutine on a garbage pail
Yeah.
somewhere. Still, a lot of downtime and an expense.
Yeah, that is That is, yeah, I would not do anything else, but I would just we would we would try to see how many attractions and how many parks we could get done in one day, and that would be it.
Keys to the Kingdom builds the lunch period in, but you know you're going to be having
Mhm.
it, and the tour allows for it, and you're not paying by the hour.
Yeah.
So I think that part is worth it. But heck no, if I'm doing
And the
hourly,
Keys of the
I will
Kingdom
eat tomorrow.
is 149. So that's a extremely for what you get on that tour because it's a 5-hour tour. And I mean, I would pay 149 anytime just to see the utilidors. Like that is just awesome.
But now remember, that's 149 on top
Yeah,
of
of
a park
course, that
ticket.
is true too.
It doesn't get you into the park, so you're already paying, which means you even if, on a pass, that's one thing. But if you go to Disney and you paid for a day
Yeah,
ticket,
yeah, that's
and now I have to
200.
pay another hundred and
Yeah,
fifty
that's
dollars to go
350
on
for
this
the day
tour,
per
that
person.
is, yeah, and it's 5 hours out of your
That's
regular
true.
park day.
You're not in the park.
So you have to want to commit to this. I mean, yeah, you're still going to go on rides and you get to see other things, but budget your time. And again, you do it once. Okay, I've seen it. That's awesome. Probably won't do it again. But it's just a matter of determining, and that's what this whole show is
Yeah.
about.
Um,
What's worth your time? What's
yeah,
worth your
but
money?
yeah,
What's
the doing a VIP tour. I mean, if I can get a group together, I'm definitely gonna do that at least once in California now for the merch. Because now that I've seen the merchandise, I have to have it. Gosh,
It's nice, huh? It's a nice
this show, it's not good for my wallet sometimes.
this was not to give anyone an idea or
So
any
what else
kind
do we
of.
guys have that
We're not
is
recommending any of this
is
stuff to anyone.
worth
Look
the
how informed
splurge
you are
and not
now.
worth the splurge?
Yeah.
I
Right.
will say
That's why people
that
come to this show.
um at Epcot specifically, well, let's just say this. I will say at Walt Disney World specifically, I personally don't feel that character dining is worth the splurge. It now in California that's different. With those characters, the way they interact. I mean, I've had some amazing meals at the plaza. I've had some amazing meals at Goofy's Kitchen. Like I had, what was it, Eeyore come run outside and stare at me from outside the window. Like you don't get those type of experiences at Disney World. It's all rushed. The last time I went to 1900 Park Fair when it reopened, it was just such a everything's a production. Like they rush you through everything's like timed. They had a whole song and dance with the wish ceremony and everything else. And as soon as they perform the wish ceremony, the guys bring in the check. It's not like, are you done? Or have you had enough food? It's you've seen the characters, you've had a couple of things to eat, now get out. And I really feel that way when it comes to Disney World restaurants, especially with the characters, because it's like they bring them out in a group, you see them, they never come back again, and you get that feeling like it's time to go. Like they subconsciously make you feel like, hey, I need to get out of here. When are you really getting your money's worth? I mean, that's up to you, but I personally don't think they're worth it. The only time that I would, if like I will go to Chef Mickey's now because Chef TJ is there, and I want a good vegetarian meal, and he's the best vegetarian chef on property. So I will go there to have him make me food, and that'll be worth it to me. I don't care about the characters. I mean, it'll be nice to have them there, but I don't care. But the only other way that I would pay to do a character meal at a resort is if I'm not going into the park, because that is a way to pay a lot less to see the characters without having to go into the parks. Because you could actually go to Chef Mickey's and not go to Magic Kingdom and, spend potentially a lot less at Chef Mickey's and still see Mickey and the gang and everything else and do that way. But other than that, I don't feel like the food quality. I mean, Michael, Lisa, you can tell me too. The food quality usually at the buffets is not the best. You have and I'm a parent, but I will say this: you have kids running around just destroying the buffet. Just throwing stuff everywhere. It's not the best experience.
You know my opinion. Boma or nothing when it comes to buffets. Fewer kids, because everyone with kids is already rushing to the parks. They'd rather be closer. With Chef Mickey's now, and you're saying that chef that can give you a really nice vegetarian meal. Does that restaurant share a kitchen with the Contempo Cafe, or is it a separate kitchen? Could you order that meal without having to pay additional for the character dining? I'm not here to meet Mickey and Pluto. I'm here for the meal. Can I get a table in the corner where the characters aren't going to come, and I can take my time enjoying my special meal? Does the Contempo Cafe have that same kitchen, or is it a separate kitchen?
I'm not sure.
That's a great question. I believe
Because if I can't get into Geyser Point at the Wilderness Lodge, you can go to that little small little window thing. It's the same stuff. You want your bison burger, but you don't want to sit down and get attacked by ducks.
That's true.
In the covered seating area. Take it with you and go sit elsewhere, but you can get the same exact food.
That's like Cambu Lounge at the Polynesian. If you really like the food from Ohana, you can go to Tambu Lounge. You don't have the characters, you pay a lot less, and you can pick and choose what items that you want. Now, of course, it's not all you can eat; it's a la carte. But if you just want the pot stickers, or you want the noodles, or some of the skewers, you can do that too. So that is definitely a good option. That is totally. I've done that numerous times. I mean, I haven't been to that way in a while to Ohana, but absolutely. And I don't know.
And you don't get that whole experience of, hey, you saw your 4 characters, here's your check, we got to turn this table over like 10 minutes ago.
I'm glad I'm not the only one that experiences that. And I'm telling you, Luella can probably back me up. It is not that way in California. Like, they don't care. Like, they'll let you sit there like as long as you want. Like, it's a completely different experience.
But I just think it's a different crowd.
Yeah, clientele. Yeah.
Yeah. So there's so many characters, but we're so many annual pass holders that we're not doing the dining.
Yeah.
So, and I think one of the things you also have the Robert, you're comparing, so that's what makes it hard. So you've seen what it is, but I think someone who's going for the first time at Chef Mickey's, they're just so thrilled and excited.
True.
That they don't know what it could be.
True.
That it's good. It's good. So, but because I have, right? So I've done that too, and I to be frank, I was disappointed at Chef Mickey. I don't know what I was expecting. It was fine, but if you ever had gone to Minnie's Breakfast, the characters will sit and play games with you when you're there.
This is correct.
And so it's just, but it's different. I'm not doing character breakfasts anymore. My kids are too old.
Yeah.
So.
I wound up going to Cape May Cafe one time. Made that mistake. The dinners are good, but the breakfast subpar. But it was so empty, and the characters are being paid. I mean, we couldn't get rid of it.
I like that.
And
I would
not even in a bad way, but they had to do their job. They had to make the rounds, and eventually you're just waving them off. Hey, Goofy, just you signed the little placemat or whatever the heck. I already took my picture. I don't need to see you again. But that part of the reason for these inflated prices is because you are paying for the additional staff, where you don't have people. You don't have 4 or 5 people in costumes at a regular
I love
buffet.
having the ability to go to a character meal, not having to go into the park. So that's what's the beauty of Chef Mickey. That's the beauty of like going to Goofy's Kitchen. I don't have to go to the park, and I can have my Disney fix.
Right. You could do that on a non-park day and still have your Disney fix. So I still experienced it. I just didn't have to use it as a park day, or take an hour and a half to get to the restaurant and eat, and now get on whatever transportation to go to. Now I lost an hour and a half, 2 hours or whatever in travel time and dining from my park day. So do it on a resort day.
I will say me personally, I thoroughly enjoy character dining experiences when they're done correctly. Are characters in general.
Mhm.
I love meet and greets. I don't necessarily like them in Florida, because it's everything with anything that involves a character. There's a long line, and you're rushed, and you get in, you get out, you get your photo. Have a nice day. Bye. You know, it's crazy. Like uh, one of the things I loved most about doing the Disney cruise or doing Disney cruises is you basically have carte blanche with the characters. When you
Mhm.
have like sea days, they're just out there in like the open, like 24/7. I mean,
Yes.
I would just go out there in the main atrium and there'd be random characters out there, and I was always taking photos. I was always stopping to say hey, because there's not a huge crowd of people standing there, so you can really have that one-on-one interaction with them, play games with them, things like that. The same stuff that you can do at Disneyland. I get the same similar experience at Disneyland. It's just so different. I mean, I get why it is the way it is here in Florida. It's just because, people, this is like maybe their once a year, twice a year trip, and they want to get in and see the characters and get on with their day. Not everyone wants to do that, but when it comes to the fans, they enjoy that experience. And Disney has tried out here. Main Street Mickey. He's gone through his changes. He still talks and does his whole routine, and it's fantastic. But then again, that whole experience is, get in, get out, get the photo, maybe have him say a couple words, and you've seen him now. Bye. You know.
See, now the last two times I was there, they got rid of the talking
Oh,
Mickey, or he wasn't available at that time. So I thought they just did away with it.
they might have. I honestly, it was one of those things that like they wanted to, really push that out. This was like years ago when they
Hmm.
first came out with it, and do something different. And that was, I think it was close to the same time they redid the Mickey's meet and greet on Main Street. So
Yeah, and I think they wound up dropping that experience, which is really cool.
yeah, it is really cool.
But yeah, I think they went away now, unfortunately.
Who knows what'll happen in the future? I'm sure they'll bring it back at some point. But again, having the you if you go to Walt Disney World versus Disneyland, you'll see there's lines, there's waits for the characters at Disneyland. Mickey just appears on Main Street and people high five him and walk past, and he doesn't have 20 people chasing after him. Sign this, where are you going? Where are you going? Almost demanding their attention. That's why they have to do that over here. Because if you've ever seen when the roaming characters come out and say like in back in American Adventure and Epcot, that's exactly what happened. Immediately 50 people show up and there's a line, and you can't really have those off the cuff, improv experiences with the characters because there's just so many people, and I get that.
Which is different than when I went to Disneyland Paris, when that's just a free
Yeah.
for all. Characters come out, and I'm the idiot lining up. Okay, let
Mhm.
me go take a picture. These little brats are cutting in front of me. Now I'm just going to start hip checking little kids. They're I'm like, you son of a little ring. I'm trying to do the right thing here. I'm trying to be the adult, and there Darth Vader came out, just standing in the
Yeah.
middle of Tomorrowland. Here comes Darth Vader. I'm like, I got to get this picture.
Yeah.
And now you have to force your
Yeah.
way up to get that picture because there is no sense of wait your turn, get
When
your
was the
photo.
last time you went? Because the last time I went, you had to schedule it in advance, and this was pre-pandemic.
Oh, this was years ago when I was
Yeah,
out
this was
there
this was
visiting family in England, and I found my way literally from Victoria's Cross or Victoria Station to the Eurostar into Disney. No idea where I was going. No maps, no anything. Just the savvy New Yorker guy found his way there. Didn't research my
mhm,
my hotel. Didn't search anything about that. I just wanted to be
mhm.
surprised, and I wanted to experience it in real time. And I was not prepared for the smoking, and I was not prepared for the little brats cutting people off online. But if you have to schedule those things now, I'm glad somebody woke up.
Yeah, you have to, because I remember the last time when I went, I was disappointed because you just can't go to the you have to, and I didn't know that in advance, so I didn't get to see. and all I wanted was to see Mickey while I was out there, just because I want to see Mickey at every park, but that wasn't an option that day. But I still had fun. It's just you got to schedule that in advance. Now, before we wrap this up here, I want to do one other topic while we're on the topic of Disney and worth the splurge. And I'm sure a lot of people would say this, that the Disney Cruise Line is, yeah, obviously it's one of the higher priced cruise lines, when it comes to cruises. And this is one of those things. Is it worth the splurge? And I'll just say personally for me, 100% absolutely, hands down, without a question. Um, doesn't matter where you're staying on the ship. It is absolutely worth the price of admission to get on those boats. I don't know how the rest of you guys feel about this, but I've been on a lot of cruises, and you just can't compare the service and the quality of food that you get on the Disney cruise, say something like a Royal Caribbean. It's not the same.
Yes, and for me, my take on it. I mean, Royal Caribbean, the food, especially if you're on a bigger ship, food's on point. There's nothing Disney's going to serve you that any other cruise line
Mm-hmm.
won't. Most of the ports of call are identical. I have my exclusive thing, but you're all going to the Bahamas. Everyone's going to Mexico. It's the same port. They didn't build a special port for this line as opposed to this line. They're all coming out of Cape Canaveral. They're all going out of wherever. Um, to me, it's not worth it. I did it once. The ships I find are subpar. They just rolled out the Treasure. It looks like the other four ships in the fleet. When you look at something like the Allure of the Seas or the Empress of the Seas or any of the other ships that are just massive with a lot more to do. So to me, I mean, especially going to have little kids, you want to take the little kids on it, that's fine. But I'll try it once and then go, hey, for a third of the price, I can go to the exact same ports of call. I'm done. Disney, you and I are breaking up.
I would agree with that, but I've found, especially, the biggest thing for me was the food. The food was, I've been on Royal Caribbean, I've been on Norwegian, and the food on both of them was not near as good as any food that I got on the Disney Cruise Line. The food tasted a lot fresher on Disney Cruise Line. It tasted like higher quality ingredients. And they're not like setting the world on fire with the dishes that they're preparing. It's the same stuff you would probably get on a Royal Caribbean cruise or something like that that's been Disneyfied. But I just find the quality of the food to be that much better. That's what does it for me, at least. Because I mean, what else are you gonna do on the show? And the shows too. The shows are absolutely fantastic. Amazing shows on the sea.
I agree. I would say the only cruise line that I've had better food that I can recall was Virgin Voyages. I mean, of course, no kids, right? I've been on Royal Caribbean, Norwegian, Disney Cruise Line. I choose Disney Cruise Line just for Castaway Key, Serenity Bay, etc. So like I love Disney cruises. My kids all love Disney cruises, of course. And I think it's well worth the experience, when you have kids, especially if they like characters, those character interactions. If you have kids that would do well with the clubs or the childcare, like there's so many perks to a Disney cruise that um, I think it's well worth it. I think if I was just going myself, just adults only, I might pick a different cruise line at times, but I'm definitely considering for the next big birthday another Disney cruise. So
Yeah. And I also love Disney cruise. In fact, we have an Alaska one next year. But part of the joy for me with cruising is going with other families and other families with kids. And so I think their kids clubs are top notch, just top
Yes.
notch. And
Hmm.
so that's part of the reason why we choose it. And I've
You
been
know,
on Carnival, I've been on some other ones. Food's important, but it's not the reason why I'm going on a Disney cruise. We're Disney fans, and we
True.
have a lot of children, and their kids programs are
Well,
great, and their evening adult programs, we love it. Like, we are
yep.
the competitive family. Like, me and my husband, we are the competitive couple. And
Masters of
so,
trivia.
oh, we've been chosen a lot. And but I think, it's not cheap. I mean, it's when I
No.
took my friends last year, we did the Halloween one. I mean, they had to pause, and I had to sell it to them, and they loved it.
Well,
But
I will
yeah.
say this too. Don't mistake this. Disney, as much as Disney Cruise Line, it definitely caters to Disney fans and to kids. There are things on there that are just for adults too. Like you have the spa on the ship, which has the rainforest room, which is like I still think about that to this day. That was like one of the coolest experiences, and you can buy access for the whole week, and it's adults only. You can hang out there. They have adults only pools. There are
Yeah, I
adults
will
only
say
sections.
there's no casino, and that was a big
Mm,
turn off for my mom. Big turn off.
mm.
So I mean, it is what it is, right? It's not the cruise line for everyone, which is which is fine, which is
But
fine.
I will say too, when you were talking about the kids club, I will say, the kids clubs on those ships are amazing. The theming inside is incredible. They have the hand washing stations as they enter, which are just amazing. You just stick your hands in and wash your hands. And then on top of that, at least when I did it, they gave you like a personal like phone, where you could be reached, if your kid wants to be picked up or something else, so you could go and actually pick them up. And that seems like so minuscule, but when you're on a ship and you don't have the Wi-Fi, or you don't have, not everyone has a phone or a way to communicate, that is a huge deal. Like just being able to, I remember, you know, our daughter had had enough and she wanted to leave, and they sent us a text and saying, "Hey, your daughter's ready to be picked up." That's a huge deal. Like that, those little details matter, and that's I think what Disney does really well on the cruise line.
And that Wi-Fi thing is probably one of the biggest gimmicks going in the
It
industry
really is.
at this point, that you can't just give people Wi-Fi. I can get it on a plane. I know you have it on the ship. You're not going out here without
Well,
Wi-Fi.
I'll
But to charge people extra for a package that when you're already overpaying for the experience, give them
I'll tell you
Wi-Fi. Don't you want people live streaming? Don't you want people posting to promote?
I'll tell you a story about that. So the new Carnival ships, all the newer ships, they struck a deal with Starlink, so they all use Starlink, Elon Musk satellites, and it's just just a little small antenna that you put out on the top of the ship, and it gets signal, and you can use it anywhere. And people were starting to use them on the ship. They would just bring theirs from their house and put it on outside their room on their balcony, and boom, they have internet. Well, like, it took literally, like, a week, and Carnival had a fit, and they stopped it. Now you cannot bring them on board, you cannot have them. So, in regards to your question, it is 100% a racket, because there's no reason why they should not allow these things on the ships. I mean, it doesn't hurt anybody for someone to have their own, you know, Wi-Fi on the ship, but that's just, it's another way for them to make money. So, I mean,
But like you said, your daughter had an issue. She wanted to get picked up. Wi-Fi, you can call on WhatsApp. Boom, free
mhm.
call. You go find her. Safety, security, no problem. But to go nickel and diming folks
I will
like
say
that when the technology is there.
I will say the Disney Cruise Line did offer the app with the chatting in there where you could chat, communicate with each other on your phone inside the app. So that they did provide that on Disney Cruise Line. But other than that, other than checking the times
For
for
the
the
low, low
shows,
price
and
of.
no, there was no charge for that. If you use the Disney app,
Oh,
that
okay,
that's
nice.
included. So you can only communicate through the Disney app. You can't like send like iMessage or anything like that. It's only like two other guests that are using the Disney app on your ship. But yeah, you can do that, and of course you can check updates for show times and things like that. But other than that, no, they they keep you from doing anything on the internet.
Well, I equate it to when you go into Target, magically your cell phone service just
Yeah.
disappears because they're jamming the service, and then they want you to connect to their Wi-Fi. So now when you're searching out products, they know what you're looking for, and
Mm,
they get a sense of who's the competition, or we're charging this
true.
much for this product. Where else are they
True.
looking? So it's kind of like Disney, where they
True.
can know where their guests are, and what are they buying, and what are they
Yeah.
researching, and what are they watching. That's
Uh,
why Target jams, and most stores do, and they all have the complimentary
well, not
Wi-Fi. There's stores that made of crazy steel that you can't get a
not only
signal
that,
through.
places like that and places like Disney, they put Bluetooth and other devices around the parks to track where you are inside the parks and so on and so
Hmm.
forth. I mean, Target does this. It even asks you on your
Yep.
iPhone, do you want to allow this to connect the Bluetooth in the store
Yeah,
to
to
track
track
you and all that?
you,
So
and yeah,
they all do that. So yeah, that's
yep.
that's a pretty common practice
That's
at
my
this
point.
point.
Yeah, that's what I mean.
So,
So,
but well, I think that
well, this was a
I
great
think
talk.
that's gonna do it for this week's show. We're gonna wrap it up here. It's been a pleasure having all of you on. Do any of you have anything left to say before I wrap this up? That's it.
I'm just happy we got all four of us back together
We got the gang
today.
back
This is
together.
wonderful.
Yes, absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Well, we definitely appreciate everyone that was participating in the chat. We appreciate everyone that joined us live on the feed this week. As always, you can catch us on Twitch, YouTube, and Facebook. Just search up Mouse Minds, and you can find us on all those platforms and watch our live stream. And of course, we definitely thank you. We try to do it, or we do it every week at 8:30, unless something happens and then we can't do it. But 8:30 every week on Tuesday nights is when we live stream our show. But that being said, I hope you all are having a great week and continue to have a great week. And hopefully, you have some plans to head to any of the parks sometime soon. I will be there on Saturday saying goodbye to Dinoland at Animal Kingdom. So I'll be riding Dinosaur a bunch of times and eating at Restaurantosaurus and getting my fill before they shut that down. I think in January next year. So that'll be fun. But that being said, I always say if you can dream it, you can do it. And as always, you can also find our podcast on all your favorite podcasting platforms every Friday at 5 p.m. So that being said, it's been a pleasure speaking with you all.